Since it's Halloween season, I feel like talking about mythical creatures. Today I'll talk about one of my favorite mythical creatures from Greek mythology, sirens. Contrary to popular belief, sirens are not women with fishtails. They are actually beautiful women with wings. They are bird women. The sirens have two different origins as to how they came to exist. Sirens were either the offspring of a deity, or they were the nymph companions of Persephone, the goddess of vegetation, tasked with protecting her. In the latter version, they were nymphs tasked with protecting Persephone, the goddess of vegetation. Unfortunately for them, Hades, the god of the underworld who was more powerful than them, kidnapped Persephone to be his wife. Demeter, goddess of the harvest and mother of Persephone, decided to curse the nymphs into sirens. Although they are beautiful, they are very deadly. Using the power of their voices, they lured many sailors to their deaths. This isn't always the case though, as Odysseus and Jason were clever enough to cancel them out. They're also known to challenge the Muses, the gods of the arts, and every time they lose, they are to pluck their feathers off, and the Muses wear their feathers as crowns. Or, the sirens, die. Located on an unspecified island, they live as symbols of beauty, death, allure, temptation, and forbidden knowledge. Modern interpretations of the siren include Netflix's Love, Death, and Robots' Golden Siren from Ibaro, Bianca from Tim Burton's Wednesday on Netflix, and even my own beautiful siren girl, Lilith. I actually made an animation of Lilith, and I was inspired by Milk of the Sirens by Melanie Martinez. You can check out the video on my YouTube channel, and on my TikTok, which I have pinned. If you want more content like this, follow for more. In Native American Algonquian folklore, the Wendigo is a humanoid skeletal monster with an insatiable appetite for human flesh. Located in northern US and Canada, they hunt for humans in the woods to eat, and their hunger is never satiated. They are violent cannibalistic mutants, and sometimes they tower over regular humans. They are believed to have been former humans who consumed human flesh, and this is the consequence for that. They are believed to have enhanced speed, strength, regeneration, and senses. And to make them even more terrifying, when they're out hunting humans to eat, they are capable of imitating humans they killed. When the voices they imitate are louder, that means they are farther away. But when the voices are quieter, that means they're much closer and much more likely to kill you and eat you. To kill a Wendigo for good, they require fire or a ritual. My advice, don't go into the woods alone. If you want more folklore-related content, follow for more. One of my favorite urban legends is Kuchisake Yona, the slip-mouth woman from Japan. She is such a favorite of mine that I once dressed up as a male version of her in high school. It's unknown as to how she got her disfigurement, although a lot of sources claim that she once cheated on her husband when she was alive, and he slit her mouth open from ear to ear, and then told her, "Who will think you're pretty now?" Living as a vengeful spirit, she goes around wearing a trench coat and a surgical face mask, asking lone strangers if she is pretty. If the person Kuchisake Yona questions answers her with no, then she'll take out her trusty pair of scissors to kill them. If they say yes, however, then she'll reveal her slit mouth. She'll then ask, "Am I pretty now?" and your next answer will get you cut up no matter what you do. If you answer no, she'll kill you. If you answer yes, she'll slice your mouth open from ear to ear and make her pretty just like her. As an Onryo, if I'm pronouncing it right, you are likely to encounter her in certain alleyways or streets in certain areas of Japan. Now, of course, the story isn't real. However, in the 70s, a lot of people, especially children, were afraid of her, especially afraid to go home alone by themselves, afraid that the slit-mouthed woman might catch them. She's very hard to escape. You can't run from her, as she will teleport behind you and ask you her questions. If you want to escape her, answer her questions with so-so or you're average, and then run. Some versions even claim she's scared of pomade. If I'm pronouncing that right, I don't know if I am, I don't think I am, but whatever. If you say that 3 times, apparently she'll run away. But that's just some versions of the story. Fun fact, in Japan, they just so happened to make a movie of the slit-mouthed woman, Kuchisake Yona, and it was either called Carved, or The Slit-Mouthed Woman, or Carve the Slit-Mouthed Woman. If you want to check it out, go ahead, I recommend it. I watched it myself, it was pretty freaky. If you want more urban legends, follow for more. Let's talk about banshees. Originating from Ireland, banshees are fairy spirit women who act as messengers of death. Sometimes they're depicted as a beautiful woman, and sometimes they're depicted as an old hag. Either way, they are always a female spirit who wail throughout the night, or day, but usually the night whenever someone is about to die. They're not so much as dangerous, they're just incredibly freaky. In a way, banshees can be seen as a protective spirit. This is because banshees may have ancestral connection, and their sorrowful wails prepare someone to experience the loss of a family member, prepares them for mourning. They may live on the mounds of Irish terrain, and as of how banshees came to be, they may be the spirits of women who died during childbirth or were murdered. Either way, banshees are powerful supernatural women who live as symbols of death, mortality, and grief. Modern interpretations include the banshee from Supernatural, the one from Charmed, Lydia Martin from Teen Wolf, and more family-friendly versions like Scare Screams from Monster High of Generation 1. If you want to hear more stories of supernatural beings, follow for more. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. That's the only name you need to say only 3 times to contact the spirit. Bloody Mary is one of the most famous urban legends in the world. The legend goes if you hold a candle in the dark and say Bloody Mary's name 3 times, you'll be able to see her in the mirror. And summoning her spirit is a huge risk. When summoned, she's often a pale girl with blood on her face or hollow eyes. Sometimes they may even be a distorted version of the summoner themselves. And what Bloody Mary does next depends from summoner to summoner. She may tell you your fortune, or tell you who you're gonna get married to. She may even tell you when you're gonna die, or simply scream at the top of her lungs. Worst case scenario, she scratches your eyes out or pulls you into the mirror with her. There's a lot of debate as to her origins. Some say she was a girl in asylum, some say she was a witch, and others claim she may have been Queen Mary I of England and Ireland. This is because Mary had a bloody reputation for persecuting and executing Protestants. This is how she got the name Bloody Mary. Whatever the spirit Bloody Mary's origins are, she remains a mysterious figure. And although she is avoidable, she's still very tempting to some. If you want more urban legends, follow for more. Have you ever wondered where the original Headless Horseman came from? Look no further than the Dullahan from Ireland. The Dullahan is a harbinger of death in black wardrobe, holding their very own decapitated head in one hand, and in the other, a whip made of human spine. As he carries those in hand, he rides through the night on his black horse with fiery, blood-red eyes. The whip itself is meant for punishment, reserved for those who dare to stare at the Headless Horseman. Their head is used as a tool and a weapon. The head is rotted, grinning from ear to ear with black eyes. They may throw the head as a weapon, or throw it to see great distances. Their most dangerous ability, however, is to kill you after saying your name. As the Dullahan stops in place to face you with their decapitated head, they will kill you by saying your name. The only way to fend off the Dullahan is with gold. Even the smallest bit of gold scares them away. The Dullahan is said to be the physical manifestation of the god of harvest and fertility, Crumdov, or Crumdub? I don't know how you pronounce it. The god's true form may be more humanoid, or a terrifying snake-like deity, requiring human sacrifice. As Christianity took over, the people of Ireland stopped worshipping their pagan gods. Now the god is diminished to a harbinger of death. Gold used to be a sacrifice and a staple for the god that once was Dullahan. As gold became more Christianized, it went from the has-been god's strength into their worst weakness. If you want more supernatural beings with interesting lore, follow for more. Have you ever seen the Mothman before? Located in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, the Mothman is a dark silhouette figure with bat-like wings. Towering at 6 to 7 feet, he is said to have bright red eyes. As the picture says, some say that just one look into the Mothman's piercing red eyes is enough to drive someone to madness. Whether the Mothman is covered in fur or feathers, the Mothman is still a humanoid figure with wings. Sightings of the cryptid were very popular in Point Pleasant, Virginia in the 1960s. Particularly 66 and 67. Accounts of the Mothman said he looked something like this. The Mothman is not simply a cryptid, as he is connected to actual tragedies. The Mothman doesn't cause these tragedies, he's just more the harbinger of these tragedies, an omen if you must. Such is the case of a real-life Silver Bridge collapse in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, December 15, 1967. The result of the collapse resulted in 46 casualties. Then, of course, there's car crashes and other smaller scale devastations that happened. And these incidents happened days and even months after the Mothman was sighted. If the Mothman comes, there's probably gonna be a disaster sooner or later. If you want more videos on cryptids, follow for more. Since it's time for the Renaissance Fair, let's talk about the basilisk. From ancient Greece and later times in other parts of Europe, the basilisk is a hybrid creature, typically depicted as part rooster, dragon, and serpent. According to legend, basilisks are a huge anomaly. Only in legend can an old rooster birth a shell-less egg. It must be a novelty because only hens can lay eggs, not roosters. Either these roosters are hermaphrodite beings or some crazy magic user must be messing with roosters. Anyway, after the shell-less egg is laid, the egg must be incubated by a toad or a serpent. After some time passes, the egg hatches and out comes a basilisk, the king serpent. Basilisks are incredibly dangerous creatures. They're usually pretty short, but others can be pretty tall. They have the tail of a serpent and the upper body of a chicken with either bat-like or chicken wings. Their presence causes nearby nature and small animals to wither and die. Their breath poisons the living, and even worse, one gaze into the basilisk's eyes causes instant death. To defeat these horrid beasts, mirrors are advisable, as the basilisk cannot even handle their own deathly gaze. They literally die by the sight of their own reflection. They also can't handle the presence of weasels and roosters, as their odors and crowing repels them. Although they can be defeated, they are still very dangerous to deal with. The basilisk truly lives as a symbol of pride, corruption, and forbidden power. Modern interpretations of the basilisk include the iconic, large, enormous serpent from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and the more accurate version of the basilisk from the Witcher series. If you want more videos on mythical creatures, follow for more. Let's talk about zombies. They're always portrayed as these scary, mutated beasts, these scary, mutated people. And they're always eating people. And I just thought of something yesterday. Why are they always eating people? Why do they always feel the need to eat people? Or the desire or instinct to eat people? It doesn't make much sense because they are dead. Why would a dead person need to eat people? Living people, living animals need to eat people. But dead people, they do not need to eat people. And zombies are typically portrayed as kind of stupid. They don't think, they just exist. If you take away the eating part, they're just dead people walking around. And what are they gonna do besides just walk around and be dead all the time? And they can't think either. They're just existing as walking corpses. And the thought of that is actually kind of sad. When you take away the beastly eating part, they're just humans and or animals for that matter, who are just dead people and dead things, just there. No one wants to live in a society like that. It was just a thought I had. What if we take away the eating part? What if they're portrayed in a movie or film where they're not eating people? They're just dead people walking around and just being there, living a lifeless, hopeless, existentially empty, hollow existence. Is what I'm saying. And that's why I'm saying zombies are kind of sad the more you think about it. Because if they're not eating people, when they don't eat people, and if they're in a show or movie where they never eat people, and they're just existing, what are they doing? Just nothing. What do I know? There's never been an actual zombie apocalypse before. Life and death is something defied by the phoenix. In ancient Egypt and Greece, the phoenix is a fiery, immortal bird creature. These magnificent creatures can live for centuries, about 500 to 1,000 years. When they're ready to die, they spontaneously combust themselves and rise from the ashes as baby birds. Their tears can heal people's wounds, and they can even grant people longevity. Phoenixes can never truly die, they can only be renewed. As to how phoenixes were first born, they may have originated from the Benu bird from ancient Egypt. Benu, the ancient Egyptian bird deity, symbolizes rebirth, creation, and life, and the sun. Although it's unclear if phoenixes came from Benu himself. However phoenixes first came to exist, they are still magnificent creatures, representing life, creation, and rebirth. Modern interpretations of the phoenix include the one from Harry Potter and the phoenix from Upon the Magic Roads, a movie which came out in 2021. If you want more videos on mythical creatures, follow for more. Have you ever heard of the goddess Chinnamasta? Chinnamasta is one of the prominent Mahavidyas, if I'm pronouncing it right. Whether or not I pronounce that right, please let me know. Chinnamasta is one of the 10 prominent Hindu tantric goddesses of the divine feminine. Her name means she whose head is severed. Her former form is the goddess Parvati, the Hindu goddess of motherly love and harmony. According to lore, after bathing the secret river Mandakini with her 2 attendants, Dakini and Bernini, the goddess Parvati's attendants grew increasingly hungry the more they traveled. When they couldn't take it anymore, Parvati decided to sever her own head off. 3 streams of blood flowed from her decapitated body to feed both her attendants and her own head. It was at that moment when the goddess Parvati was liberated into Chinnamasta, the motherly goddess of self-sacrifice. Despite how extreme her actions are, she's a loving and caring goddess. Another thing worth pointing out is that a lot of depictions of her in statues depict her stepping on Kama and Radhi, who in fact are the Hindu god and goddess of love and desire respectively. By standing on the couple, Chinnamasta is not rejecting sensuality and sexuality, but rather she is transcending it, showing that one should rise above sensual, sexual, and general impulses. This only adds to her divinity as she is not only about motherly love and self-sacrifice, but also restraint. An unusual goddess for sure, but she's still a part of Hinduism today, which is still worshipped. And since it's Halloween season, I decided to go for something different. Chinnamasta may be a little freaky to foreigners and outsiders, but she's still part of someone's religion and culture. If you want to learn about more interesting gods and goddesses, follow for more. Baba Yaga is one of those classical mythical witches that really stand out. In Slavic folklore, located in either Russia, Ukraine, Poland, or Belarus, she's an ancient and powerful witch in ragged clothes. Sometimes she's depicted with a long nose, iron teeth, or long skeletal bony legs. Her home is that of a hut on chicken legs deep in the forest. She has 2 forms of transportation, besides her hut on chicken legs, that is. She can fly a broom in the air, or she can ride a mortar on the ground. In some stories, she kidnaps and eats children and adults alike, often those who are greedy, disrespectful, or careless. And sometimes she's a more helpful character, testing and rewarding heroes. Either way, she truly represents the chaotic and untamable forces of nature, and she's quite adept in the magical department as well. Curses, shape-shifting, elements, control of the forest and animals, as well as great knowledge over the forest. She's not without her weaknesses though, as cleverness and respectfulness can win her over. And in some stories she has a ring containing her power in it, which can be stolen and destroyed. If you're ever out in the forest, make sure to look out for Baba Yaga. If you want to hear more cool witch stories, follow for more. If you're from or visit the Philippines, you may or may not catch sight of a manananggal. The manananggal is a unique and terrifying vampiric being, and frankly a rather gory one at that too. These type of vampire ladies are said to be beautiful women by day, but at night they're terrifying mistresses with large bat-like wings who can detach their torso from their body. The manananggal typically possesses flight, body separation, enhanced senses, as well as shape-shifting. The manananggal has a large snake-like extruding tongue. At night, manananggals are said to sneak into pregnant women's bedrooms. When they do so, they use their large tongues to feed on mortal pregnant women's fetuses in their sleep. In folklore, manananggals are said to have been women who were cursed. Sometimes they're born that way, and sometimes women turn themselves into a manananggal willingly. The manananggal is not without her weaknesses though, and her lower body is her biggest weakness. If the manananggal fails to reunite her upper body with her lower body before sunrise, she will die. If her lower half is found before then, sprinkle salt, ash, garlic, or crushed ginger. By then, she'll be unable to reattach her upper half, and she'll die. If you want to hear about more interesting vampires, follow for more. If you're ever near the sea, look out for the Knuckle of E. Originating from the Orkney Islands in Scotland, this demon is both a sea and land dweller. The Knuckle of E is a skinless abomination, taking the appearance of a skinless horse and the upper half of a man attached to its back, showing nothing but flesh and bone. The horse and rider of the Knuckle of E are fused as one. It is black blood pulsing through its veins. The horse has one eye, as well as both hooves and fins. The rider has no eyes, while the horse's one eye is fiery red. The rider's head is approximately 3 feet large. Due to the rider's disproportionately large head, it rolls from one shoulder to the next, as well as a mouth that stretches from ear to ear, and the creature in general towers at 9 feet tall. Its arms are so long and grotesque, they nearly drag on the ground. In the summertime, the Knuckle of E stays trapped under the ocean, contained by the Orcadian goddess, the Mither of the Sea. It is during the fall the Mither of the Sea's power weakens, and the Knuckle of E begins to rise. During winter, the Mither of the Sea has no power, and so the Knuckle of E roams freely every year. The Knuckle of E brings chaos and disease. Its poisonous breath kills crops and animals. It sickens and kills humans and can outrun any horse. The Knuckle of E's presence alone drives people mad with terror, and it won't stop bringing chaos and ruin until the Mither of the Sea regains her power in the spring, weakening the Knuckle of E again and driving them back down to the sea in the summer. To combat the Knuckle of E, fresh water is required. It cannot make contact with rivers or streams, and it stays hidden underwater during rainy days. This is because fresh water, full of life, burns and purifies the Knuckle of E. The Knuckle of E may be harmed by iron, especially when it's cold. The Knuckle of E also has an aversion to burning seaweed. Burnt seaweed must be handled carefully when dealing with the Knuckle of E though, as this drives the Knuckle of E into a rage. As a force of nature and destruction, the Knuckle of E is a terrifying monster indeed. If you want to learn about more terrifying monsters, follow for more. You never know if someone's really a monster, especially if they're a skinwalker. In Navajo folklore, these beings are primarily located in the south of Native America. They originate across Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and even in New Mexico. New Mexico is where my family's friend Rachel lives. Look out, Rachel. Skinwalkers are essentially a race of witches. When they're in human form, they typically wear animal pelts and shapeshift into animals, especially wolves, coyotes, birds, and foxes. They even have distorted features when they're in human form. They can have twisted limbs, make odd movements, and most notably, their eye color looks animalistic. Skinwalkers were humans who used to be healers until they chose the path to darkness. They became skinwalkers through dark means, whether it be ritual, murder, incest, or some other form of human atrocity. When they become a skinwalker, they gain enhanced speed, strength, and senses, especially the power of animal transformation and mimicry. Some skinwalkers can even use telepathy and mind control, as well as cast curses and spread illnesses. A perversion to the healers they once were as humans. They live as monsters by every definition of the word, living to lie, harm, and kill, and they must be stopped. The skinwalkers are vulnerable to white ash bullets. You can even kill them just by knowing who they really are. If you know their name and you say their name in front of them, they'll lose all their power and will even die. In Navajo belief, a name isn't just a label, it's a spiritual identity. Saying their real human name breaks the illusion, reminds them of their soul, and strips them of their power. They are portrayed in the movie Skinwalkers, The X-Files, and even video games like Until Dawn. The Skinwalker truly is, in every sense of the word, cursed. If you want to learn about more freaks of nature, follow for more. Be careful who you meet on the street. You might meet a Jurogumo. Originating from Japan, Jurogumo are half woman, half spider. The upper half of their body is that of a beautiful woman, and the lower half is that of a giant spider. They disguise themselves as beautiful, normal women at first. Then, after they lure you to their home and have you in their clutches, they reveal their true form. Once they have you in their web, they slowly drain the life out of you. According to legend, Drogumo are originally to have been golden orb weaver spiders. If they live to be 400 years, they turn into Drogumo, magical shape-shifting, half-women spider hybrids. They are skilled seductresses and illusionists. They even have control over lesser spiders. One of the most notable examples is the legend of Yoren Falls. A man sees a beautiful woman and falls for her. He visits her on a regular basis. Then a monk starts to suspect something. As for how the story ends, well, which ending do you prefer? They're not without weaknesses, though. They are repelled by sacred objects and Buddhist prayer. Fire is also handy. And check their reflection in the mirror. If she's in human form and yet has spider features in her reflection, she must be a Drogumo. If you want to hear about more terrifyingly interesting yokai, follow for more. Not all tragic figures are clean-cut. Case in point, La Llorona. La Llorona is an infamous ghost from Latin mythology. She appears as a beautiful, pale woman in a long white dress, all wet, hair tangled, and she cries tears of black or red blood. Sometimes she even wears a veil on top. She can go from stunningly beautiful to horrifically skeletal. According to legend, La Llorona, the weeping woman, is said to have been a beautiful young mother. When she was alive, she fell for and married a wealthy man. Together they had children. Eventually, her husband abandoned her and her children. Eventually, she drowned her children in a lake, driven by grief and rage. Then, after realizing what she had done, she drowned herself as well, hoping she would be reunited with her children in the afterlife. Unfortunately, heaven rejected her due to the severity of her actions. This divine rejection trapped her in the land of the living, and so she remains a weeping ghost roaming the earth. As a spirit, she lures children to her lake, mistaking them for the spirits of her own children. Once she realizes the live children she lures to her lake are not hers, it's already too late, as the living children will soon meet the same fate that her own children, as well as she did. Sometimes she senses and lures unfaithful spouses and neglectful parents. Her powers include shape-shifting, hypnotic wails, water control, and spiritual paralysis. She can be vulnerable to prayer, holy grounds, and even her own name Maria being called. Notable depictions of her are The Curse of La Llorona, Grimm, and even the Scooby-Doo franchise. If you want to hear more sad, scary ghost stories, follow for more. Meet me on the other side, or perhaps in Africa. We might meet Papa Legba together. Papa Legba is a powerful Loa, an African spirit, so to speak. He's a powerful Loa from Haitian voodoo. In older Haitian, Caribbean, and West African traditions, he used to be a fertility god. He used to be portrayed with horns, as well as a rather large... I'll let you fill in the blank there. Over time, he officially became known as the gatekeeper of the spirit world. This change is due to syncretism, as well as, unfortunately, the aftermath of the transatlantic slave trade. However, none of that makes him any less respectable. He's managed to have been preserved in culture, and he's still a benevolent trickster, as well as spiritual protector, of course. He's the guardian of the crossroads and the interpreter between humanity and the divine. He's commonly portrayed as a chill, elderly figure, with a hat and cane, and sometimes a pipe. Sometimes he's depicted more as a middle-aged man. And he seems to be quite the dog person, as he's commonly depicted with dogs. Dogs symbolize guidance and protection. Since Papa Legba is a guider and protector himself, dogs serve to facilitate him. As a divine elderly man in a hat and a cane, he's quite capable. Since he's a spirit of life and death, he's capable of understanding and speaking all languages, and he can grant or deny communication with other Loa. He is not an evil spirit in the slightest. Rather, he is chill, playful, and wise, helping those who are patient, helpful, and honest, ignoring the arrogant and deceitful. And he serves to remind humans that divine access requires respect and clarity. One of his most well-known depictions is in American Horror Story Coven. This sinister depiction of him is rather questionable, especially when you look back. He's also depicted in Netflix's Castlevania Nocturne series, in which he has a much better and more accurate representation. And as a modernized figure, he's been everywhere, from Haiti to New Orleans, Louisiana in the US. If you want to learn about more deities and mythological African figures, follow for more. Born of chaos, feared by the gods, and destined to swallow Odin whole. This is a story of Fenrir, the wolf who ends the world. Fenrir originates from Norse mythology. He used to live in Asgard, the realm of the gods, but was later chained away until Ragnarok. Fenrir is said to be a massive, colossal wolf. Legend says his lower jaw can touch the ground, while his upper jaw can reach the sky. If that's how big his jaws are, imagine how big the rest of his body is. His eyes are said to burn fiery red. He's so large that when he drools, rivers form. His exact size is unknown, and may be a little exaggerated, said to be so large that he can devour the moon and the sun. According to legend, Fenrir is one of the 3 monstrous children born from the god Loki and the giantess Angrboda. The 3 children are Fenrir himself, Jormungandr, the world serpent, and Hel, the Norse goddess of the underworld. Together they are prophesied to end the world. Hel was placed in the underworld, Jormungandr was cast into the ocean, and Fenrir was chained in Asgard. He used to be a pup, but he grew bigger and stronger and harder to control. The gods chained him up, growing increasingly fearful of him. They told him it was a test of strength. Knowing it was a trick, Fenrir asked one of them to put their hand in his mouth. Only Tyr, the Norse god of war, justice, and oaths, put his hand in his mouth. Predictably, Tyr's hand was chomped clean off. According to prophecy, when Ragnarok, the day of doomsday, comes, Fenrir will take his part in ending the world and swallow Odin, the chief of the gods, whole. After that happens, Fenrir will be killed by Vidar. Vidar being the Norse god of vengeance, who will avenge his father in the aftermath. In pop culture, Fenrir is depicted in Marvel, God of War, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. What do you think of Fenrir? If I kept mispronouncing his name, I apologize. If you want to hear more wolf tales and powerful world-ending monsters, follow for more. Born of chaos, cast into the sea, and destined to end the world. This is the story of Jormungandr, the world serpent. In Norse mythology, Jormungandr is said to be a gigantic, colossal sea serpent. Said to be so large he encircles the entire earth as he dwells within the ocean. Jormungandr is a giant sea serpent, with emerald green scales and glowing eyes. His fangs are so long and so large they can pierce through ships. He's one of the 3 monstrous children of the trickster god Loki and the giantess Angrboda. Among the 3 children is Jormungandr himself, Fenrir the colossal wolf, and Hel, the Norse goddess of the underworld. According to prophecy, when Ragnarok, the doomsday apocalypse, happens, Jormungandr will arise from the ocean, causing massive floods and poison the sky with his venom. After that will be an epic final showdown between Jormungandr himself and Thor, the Norse god of thunder and storms. They are both destined to kill each other. Jormungandr will poison Thor with his venom, but Thor will not go down without a fight. Thor will strike Jormungandr dead, and then afterwards, Thor will die, as he will take 9 steps before succumbing to the venom. In pop culture, he is depicted in Marvel, the God of War video game series, and even TV shows like Vikings. Jormungandr the World Serpent is no doubt a world threat. If you want to learn about more serpentine monsters, follow for more. Born of chaos, banished to and given dominion over the underworld, and destined to supply her parents with an army from the underworld during the end times. This is a story of Hel, the Norse personification of death and ruler of the underworld. Hel may or may not be a goddess. Either way, she is still the personification of death. She takes the appearance of that of a beautiful woman on one half of her body. On the other half of her body, she's decayed and cold, representing the duality of life and death, and beauty and decay. She resides in Helheim, a cold, shadowy realm in the underworld, beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. It's a place reserved for heroes who didn't die a heroic death. Hel is one of the 3 monstrous children of Loki, the trickster god, and Angrboda, the giantess. There's Fenrir, the colossal wolf, Jormungandr, the world sea serpent, and Hel herself, the personification of death. According to prophecy, the 3 are destined to end the world. Fearing the end times, the gods isolated them. Jormungandr was cast into the sea, Fenrir was chained up, and Hel was banished to the underworld and given dominion there. According to prophecy, when Ragnarok comes, Hel will supply her father Loki an army of the dead from her realm. She has authority over the dead, control over spirits, immortality, and cold and darkness manipulation. She doesn't have a clear weakness, but she is bound by fate. She cannot leave Helheim freely, and she is limited to the underworld. At least when it comes to her and her siblings, she is the only one who may survive Ragnarok. In pop culture, she is depicted in Thor Ragnarok in Marvel, mentioned in the God of War series, Smite, and Assassin's Creed. Hel is eternal and her realm never truly sleeps. If you want to hear about more deathly personifications, fall for more. Everyone fears something, and fear takes many forms. And your fears take shape into that of the boogeyman, the embodiment of fear. The boogeyman has no singular appearance, as they are a shape-shifting entity and the embodiment of fear. It can shapeshift and turn into your worst fear. The boogeyman can range from a shadowy figure to something gangly and grotesque to something more human, and has many other forms, able to transform into other monsters as well. As the entity of fear, they are not pinned to any specific location, as they are everywhere. And when the boogeyman is there, it'll hide in your closet or under your bed. Anywhere around the house, really. The boogeyman even has the power to give you and appear in your nightmares directly, feeding on your fear. The boogeyman has been told for centuries, mostly to scare children into good behavior. In some stories, the boogeyman will go as far as to kidnap, murder, and eat children and adults alike. Considering the boogeyman has been told for centuries to scare children into good behavior, it would be no surprise if the boogeyman was a surprisingly moralistic figure, living to feed on the morally corrupt and wicked. A sort of vigilante it may be, but that's up for debate. All we do know is that the boogeyman lives to give you nightmares and feed on your fear. The boogeyman can also appear anywhere he wants, teleporting and maneuvering, dwelling in the shadows. The boogeyman has taken many depictions over the years, being the titular character of Stephen King's own novellic Boogeyman, as well as its film adaptation, The Babadook, Pitch Black from Rise of the Guardians, and some of the most iconic horror villains like Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street and Pennywise from It. Goes to show how prominent fear is. If you ever hear a creak in the night, it might be the boogeyman. If you want to hear about more nightmare fuel entities, follow for more. Do you want to be a witch? Perhaps you should connect with Hecate, the Greek goddess of magic, witchcraft, and the crossroads. Hecate is often depicted as triple-formed, representing her triple dominion over the heavens, earth, and underworld. She's often depicted holding daggers, keys, torches, and snakes. She even has dogs by her side. This Greek witch goddess is the daughter of Perseus, the Titan god of destruction, and Asteria, the Titan goddess of falling stars. As a goddess, she is worshipped for protection and guidance. She guards the crossroads and thresholds of the underworld, heavens, and the earth. She is also the patron of magic, witchcraft, and necromancy, at least in Greek mythology, and she guides souls in the underworld and protects travelers. Hecate is a master of magic and witchcraft. She can summon and banish spirits, and she can predict the future. She offers protection, guidance, and power to those who respect her rituals. Be careful though, cause disrespecting her rites and angering her can bring upon misfortune and curses, and she will not grant power without acknowledgement. According to mythology, she gained her dominion during the Titan War. Despite being a daughter of the Titans, she sided with Zeus and the other Olympians. Thankful for her loyalty, Zeus rewarded her with her dominion status, honoring her above all others. In the story of the abduction of Persephone, Hecate became Persephone's companion. When Persephone was kidnapped by Hades, Hecate heard Persephone's cries from her cave. Hecate then helped Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, find her daughter Persephone, the goddess of spring. Hecate even helps Medea with her magic in the Argonautica. In pop culture, Hecate is depicted in Shakespeare's Macbeth, worshipped in the chilling adventures of Sabrina. She's in Blood of Zeus, and she's even in video games like Hades. Hecate is a powerful and beautiful multi-purposeful goddess indeed. Would you want her to be your patron? If you want to learn about more gods and goddesses of magic, follow for more.